In a city that is crumbling under the weight of corruption and moral decay, Havoc begins with a seemingly straightforward story of a drug deal gone wrong. A young man named Charlie makes a reckless decision to steal a stash of drugs and flee, setting off a chain of events that draws in law enforcement, organized crime, and political power players, all against the backdrop of a city teetering on the edge of collapse. During his escape, Charlie violently clashes with a pursuing officer named Cortez, leaving him badly injured. This act instantly catapults Charlie from a petty criminal into the public eye as a dangerous fugitive. Tensions escalate when, later that same night, gunmen storm a Triadron nightclub, coincidentally the same club Charlie had visited with the stolen drugs just hours earlier. The massacre leaves several dead, and with Charlie's recent actions still fresh in everyone's mind, he's quickly and wrongly blamed for the bloodbath. With mounting pressure from the public and within the police department, Charlie becomes the face of the city's criminal underworld. Amid the confusion, Detective Patrick Walker finds himself unwillingly pulled into the investigation. A once dirty cop with a complicated past, Patrick is now trying to operate on the right side of the law, though his reputation and methods still reflect a history of compromised choices. Patrick receives orders from Lawrence Beaumont, a prominent businessman with political ambitions and a spotless public image, to find Charlie and get him out of harm's way. The request, however, is anything but professional. Lawrence is revealed to be Charlie's estranged father, though the two have had little to no relationship since the death of Charlie's mother, a tragedy that drove a wedge between them that never healed. Lawrence's insistence that Patrick protect Charlie is not entirely rooted in fatherly love. As a mayoral candidate preaching reform and safety, the revelation that his son is involved in drug trafficking and potentially murder could ruin his career. The irony of Lawrence's campaign, cleaning up the city, while his son is being hunted by the police, is not lost on Patrick. The two men share a complicated history. Years ago, Patrick blackmailed a district attorney to keep Lawrence out of prison. Though he did it under the guise of loyalty, the interaction set the tone for a relationship founded on manipulation rather than mutual respect. As Patrick delves deeper into the investigation, he is partnered with Ellie, a rookie officer who is still learning the ropes. Initially dismissive of her and frustrated by what he perceives as a lack of skill, Patrick berates her for missing crucial evidence, like failing to find any assault rifles at the club massacre scene. But Ellie proves to be more capable and determined than he gives her credit for, and their partnership begins to evolve as the stakes rise. The city's crime scene grows even more volatile with the arrival of Clarice Fong, the sister of Ching, the triad leader who was killed in the nightclub attack. Clarice is fierce, calculating, and consumed by a thirst for vengeance. She is convinced that Charlie was responsible for her brother's death and begins her own personal crusade to track him down. Meanwhile, Patrick's investigation leads him to an unsettling truth: the violence at the club wasn't the result of Charlie's actions at all. Instead, it was orchestrated by a group of corrupt officers, Vincent, Hayes, and Jake, who have been manipulating events from behind the scenes. These officers, Patrick discovers, had no intention of arresting Charlie that night. They were chasing the stolen cocaine itself, which had immense value on the street. In a scheme that involved Ching, they planned to seize the drugs and split the profits. What was initially framed as a botched law enforcement operation was, in fact, an elaborate betrayal driven by greed. Ching's cooperation with the dirty cops is also revealed to be unknown to Clarice, further complicating her narrative of revenge. The tension builds as all the players begin converging on a single location, the train yard, where the drugs, the money, and the final confrontation are set to collide. Charlie and his companion Mia attempt to flee, hoping to escape the clutches of both the law and the gangs hunting them. But the convergence is inevitable. The train yard becomes the backdrop for the film's explosive climax. Ellie, now emboldened by her own investigative progress, gets the drop on the corrupt cops by ambushing them from inside a train car. Patrick arrives shortly after, but not before the triads storm the area. Clarice is not far behind, and Lawrence too shows up, now fully immersed in the situation he had tried to keep at arm's length. Mia and Charlie are taken hostage as the opposing forces demand retribution. Clarice confronts Lawrence, blaming Charlie for her brother's death. In an attempt to force Lauren's loyalty, she demands that he kill Mia. The moment is a turning point for Lawrence, who has long buried his guilt and failures under political ambition. Faced with his son's desperate pleas and the weight of his own conscience, Lawrence finds himself unable to carry out the execution. This hesitation sparks a chaotic shootout, with bullets flying and alliances dissolving in an instant. Patrick, who had been knocked unconscious earlier in the chaos, regains consciousness and joins the fray. But it is Ellie who provides the crucial breakthrough. She steps in and tells Clarice the truth: Charlie wasn't responsible for Ching's death. Ching had betrayed his sister and worked with the corrupt officers all along. Ching himself confirms this betrayal before he is gunned down in the ensuing crossfire. Lawrence, finally stepping into the role of a father, sacrifices himself to save Charlie, taking multiple bullets in the process. The violence claims many lives, Clarice among them, and leaves the train yard soaked in blood and tragedy. Despite the carnage, one key player remains: Vince. Gravely wounded but still alive, Vince grabs a bag of triad money and attempts to flee by boarding a train. Patrick catches up with him, and in one final showdown, Vince gets a shot off. But Patrick, fueled by rage and weariness, unloads his clip and ends Vince's life once and for all. Ellie, who has witnessed Patrick's journey, doesn't immediately arrest him. Instead, she allows Charlie and Mia to escape, recognizing that they were pawns in a much larger game. They drive off, leaving behind the devastation and the life that nearly destroyed them. As the dust settles, Patrick prepares to face the consequences of his past. Though he has survived, he knows his time is up. The police arrive to arrest him, but he refuses to call his daughter or involve her in his downfall. For all his past misdeeds, Patrick makes one final effort to do something right, shielding his daughter from the man he once was. Before he is taken into custody, he looks at Ellie and calls her a good cop, acknowledging that she represents the future he never could be part of.